Hi there, Tansy here. Today we'll crochet this fanny pack and all the parts to this video will be in the description below because that video got so long. So we'll start with crocheting the granny square for the base of the bag. Then we'll make the lining for this bag and attaching the zipper and making the lining out of fabric. And then we'll crochet the strap to go with the fanny pack. And of course, that will have some keychain blanks at the end of the straps so we can attach and we can remove those straps the way we want them. All right, so let's get started. We'll make this granny square, it's quite big, with some basic cotton yarn. So the cotton yarn I'm using is medium 4 weight, and the label recommends 5mm hook that I have right here. And it's 100% cotton, it's a kitchen cotton, it's quite rough on your hands. And these are my basic colors: orange, green, that's called rosemary, this is gold, and then I have some pastel pink and purple. So you can do any colors you want, any colors you have at home. And it's all the stitches you need to know are double crochet, chain, and then we'll make those double crochet into these popcorn stitches here, and then we'll connect those, or you can even sew them together. I think sewing together looks much better because that extra stitch here creates quite an interesting edge actually. But I think because there's so much going on in these flowers, that extra edge here, it maybe is like too much. But it's definitely worth the effect if you are going for that. And I wanted to see what's the size that I got with that yarn. So it's 6 inches by 6 inches. So my square is 6 by 6, and it is made of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of crochet stitches, and they're a combination of a half double crochet and a double crochet where the last row is, and we're doing a tiny bit of a piccolo here. And all right, so that's pretty much the overview of the pattern, and let's get started. So the pattern starts with chain 5 and then double crochets. All right, so we start with a slip knot here, tighten it around your crochet hook, and then we chain 5. We are going back to the first chain and we are closing the ring. Slip stitch through that first chain and through that chain on your hook. Tighten your first stitch if you can with the both sides of your yarn, and then chain 2. So this chain 2 counts as a double crochet, and in between each double crochet we'll have a chain. So now we chain 1 for that space. So technically you do have 3 chains. And then after that we are going for 11 double crochets and a chain between each double crochet. So a chain and a double crochet and chain, and then we'll go like this till the end of the round, and I'll meet you right there. So here I just did my last chain, and now I will go on the top of that second chain in that little post here that I did. I'll go into inside that second chain because I had the third chain as a space, so I don't want to ruin that. So I'll go into that second chain and I'll do a slip stitch through there and a slip stitch through the loop on my hook, and that will be this for this row. And I will chain 1 so I can cut my yarn, and I'll switch to my next color. So tighten that yarn, and that yarn tightens beautifully because there's no stretch in it. It's not slippery at all. So the slippery your hook is, it's going to be easier on your hands and fingers. So make sure you pick your tools correctly and at least appropriate for each project or type of yarn you have. All right, we are switching now to the next color, which is my bright pink here, and we'll do some popcorn stitches. So I'll do a slip knot here, or you can just tie it to your project. It really doesn't matter how you start. And I'll pick a little space. It really doesn't matter which space you pick because we're going in circles. Slip stitch through the space and through your loop on your hook, and then chain 2. So this will be your first double crochet. So we will need 3 more double crochets. With that first one, we'll have 4 altogether, and we'll have 4 double crochets in each space from now on. Okay, so we'll have 3 more here. And of course, you can tuck your tail behind your stitches, and then you can grab them together with that space, and it will have it automatically weaved in. So here's our 3rd post and the 4th post here. And now that you have 4 posts, we are ready for the popcorn stitch. We will let go of this loop, but do not tighten it from your finger so you don't lose it. So leave it there loosely. Go back to the first stitch here under the V. Insert your hook through there and grab your loop that you just left there. And now you can tighten it, tighten your tension on your finger, and carefully and gently pull that loop through that stitch you had. And now you lock it on top, and you do chain 2. And then we go to the next space. And then we do 4 more double crochets. Here's 1. Then we have 2. Then we have 3. And then we have 4. We let that loop go, but without pulling with our finger. Just let your finger rest. Go back to that first stitch. Grab your loop, pull through that stitch, and now you can tighten it. Tighten your tension around your finger and do a chain, but lock those stitches there and chain 1. I think that chain 2 is maybe too much, so chain 1. If you go with a thinner yarn and you might need to chain 2 here, chain 2. You just have to make sure you have that outside circle is a tiny bit bigger than your inside circle, so it doesn't bunch and pull your project through. So we are going to the next, and we will repeat that till the end of the row, and I'll meet you when I'm done with all those 12 popcorn stitches here. Okay, so there it is. I just did my last chain there. I'll go at the top of the stitch here. So if you look at your first popcorn, it has that first V there that's on top of the whole loops that it went through. You'll go under it, you'll pull through your yarn, you'll tighten that stitch. So make sure you wiggle it up and down, and that tightens your loop on your hook and that loop over here. So make sure you control that. Then you slip your loop through all the loops you have, and then chain 1. And now here you can cut your yarn off and tighten your stitch, and we are all done. And now it's time for the next color. And that green is a little bit softer than the rest of the colors. It's very interesting. With a slip knot. And we'll pick a space between the popcorn stitches. We'll do slip stitch through that first chain. And then we'll chain 3. And then into that first chain again, we'll go back and we'll do another slip stitch through that space and through that stitch we have on our hooks. And then we'll go back into the space and we'll do a single crochet in there. And we have a little leaf here that's in this space. All right, so we chain 1 so we can skip to the next space between the popcorn stitches. Chain 1 here, and we do a single crochet into that space, just like that. We chain 3 for the leaf, and into that first stitch together with that single crochet we have there, we'll go through both of them, and then we'll do a slip stitch through there and the slip stitch through our loop on the hook, and then we'll go back into the space and we'll have another single crochet, and then we chain 1 and then we go into the next space, single crochet into that space, chain 3, going through that first 2 stitches, that single crochet stitch, and through that stitch that's on top of it or in front of it. We'll go through both of them and we'll do a slip stitch and then we'll do a single crochet into the same space. And then chain 1 and we move to the next space and we go all around between the popcorn stitches so we can have these little leaves. And I'll meet you when I'm done. Alright, so I chained my last chain here between the leaves, and don't forget those chains, they're important for our next step. So we'll go back into that first stitch we made there and we'll go under it and we'll pull our yarn through it and pull through that loop on our hook, and then you have your slip stitch there. Chain 1 so you can secure it really well, and you can switch now your next color. Tighten your stitches, and I was able to walk my last tail over here so I can trim it and I'll be good to go for my till the end of it. I will have no ends to weave in. All right, so there are, we are ready for the next step. All right, so here is my next color. We start with a slip knot. That's the most secure way of starting a new color. Of course, you can just start with it with no knots, and then when weaving in, make sure you secure it. But if you don't want to do twice the work, you can start with a slip knot. So now pick any space between the green leaves and then start from there. We do a slip stitch here through our first loop. You wiggle your yarn so it can tighten up, and here we go. So here we'll be just chaining 4, and then I have 1, 2, 3, so 1 more 4, and then into the next space between your leaves you do a single crochet, and you just put your chain behind the leaf, and then chain 4, and with a single crochet go in the space in that single crochet, in that chain we did from the previous row. Actually, it's your chain there, and do a single crochet, chain 4, and then into the next chain between the leaves, single crochet. And that's how we'll go till the end of the row, and I'll meet you there. Alright, so I'm at my last chain 4, and then I'll just go into that space again and I'll do a single crochet, and that's it. So now I need to move into those spaces, so because I'll be working 2 popcorn stitches into each yellow space. So I will do a slip stitch into that space. So I'll grab my working yarn and I'll slip to that loop I have, and now I'm in that space. I'm not connected to that single crochet I did for this row. So chain 2, and now we'll have 3 double crochets for the first popcorn stitch, and then counting that chain 2, there are actually 4 posts or 4 double crochets there. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. So there it is. We have 4 posts, and then we'll go through that top stitch here from the first double crochet, and then we'll grab our working yarn that made the loop there, tighten gently, pull through your first stitch, and then lock it with 1 chain and then 1 more chain, so we can move to the next popcorn. We do 2 popcorn stitches into the same space. So we have again 4 double crochets, and then we'll gather them again on top for a popcorn stitch. We'll go back again to that first double crochet, grab our loop, pull through, chain 2. Alright, so this is what we do in each space here, and we should have 12 double popcorn stitches in each space, and that will be it for this row. And I'll keep going and I'll meet you at the end. Alright, so I'm back at the beginning again, and on top of that stitch that I gathered my popcorn stitches here with that first popcorn, I'll go under it, I'll grab my yarn, pull through, and then pull through that loop that was waiting on my hook, wiggle it so you can tighten it well, make 1 chain, and then cut your yarn. So now we are ready to go with our next yarn, and I also will show how to connect to the rest of the pieces together and crocheting it, of course. Alright, so if you haven't counted your popcorn stitches and you have a mistake somewhere, this is where it's gonna show, because we're gonna have to create those 4 corners, and they have to be on equally spaced. So we will do it around that last row, and that's the moment of truth. If you did not count and there is a mistake, it will come up right here, right now. But you can always go back and fix it, and or start all over again. All right, so let's jump into the next color. So you go around with your purple around that center, and you make your first square, and after that you just connect the rest of the squares. Let's start with the next color. So we'll start with the slip knot, tighten it around your hook, and then pick any space you like, and you start with a slip stitch here, tighten your stitch, wiggle your loop so you can tighten it, chain 2, and then 2 double crochets for our first cluster of double crochets. And the first chain will count as double crochet, so here we actually need to make only 2. We have a total of 3, double crochets, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets into the same space. So this is our corner. So this is the corner here. We're almost done. And now we can do the next space. So in order to make this into a straight line, so we are transforming a circle into a square, we're going to be playing with the length of those stitches here. So we're going to do only 2 stitches in that first chain space, but there'll be 2 double crochets. So 2 double crochets into that first chain space after the corner. And we are done. So in the next 3 chain spaces, we will have half double crochets. So 2 half double crochets into the next space. This is the first one, yarn over, and the second half double crochet. We go into the next space. We do another 2 double crochet, half double crochets. There it is, 2 half double crochets, and one more time, 2 half double crochets in the next chain space. And then into the next chain space, we do 2 double crochets, 2 double crochets here, and then we are ready for the next corner. And then we'll have 3 double crochets here before we make a chain. All right, so here are the 3 double crochets. And now we are ready to turn. So we'll have a chain and the next 3 double crochets here, and that's how you're gonna go around. This is how we'll do the first square that we have not attached anything to it. And then these sides will repeat at the rest of the spaces. All right, but since we're gonna be connecting it for a fanny pack or a waist bag, bum bag, I think that it has different names, we will be connecting right now. In order to get that shape, we have to connect at those sides over here so we can get this shape at the end. So connect your first 3 squares in a line, and then the last square will make it into a shape. All right, so we'll be working at the front side actually here. So we will connect on this side, then we'll switch this side and connect to this one, and then this side. And this is our top here that will meet this side. All right, how many times did I say this side, this side? But let's do it. So let your loop go, make it a bit bigger and let it go. And now insert your hook through that chain space between the clusters in the corner. Then grab your hook again and with your finger, control your tension here. Pull through, don't be too tight here. Chain 1 so you can secure your spot. So because in that corner we only did 3 double crochets, we need the other 3 to complete the corner. So in that space again, we'll do 3 double crochets. They all stitches on one side, they have to correspond to the same number of stitches and to the same length of stitches on the other side. So we are doing exactly the same mirror image of the stitches. All right, so we let that loop go again. We go across the street to grab the next, into the next space. Between the clusters here, we grab our loop, we pull through that space, and then we look. We have to do here 2 double crochets. And also as well, if you follow that pattern from here, we do have to do 2 double crochets. So you can chain 1 here to secure your spot, or even if you don't, it's still gonna be okay if you forget at one place. And then into the next space, chain space, we'll do 2 double crochets. And if for a reason this side, whatever you have to do on this side, does not correspond with the things done on this side, it means we've made a mistake somewhere. Alright, so we move now to the next space. We insert our hook between the next granny cluster here, and then we pull through, we chain 1 loosely. If you tighten too much, this will bunch up. So we don't want it to bunch up too much, but we don't want it to be loose either. So we have to control our tension. So here now we have to do half double crochets, and then we'll do it. So 2 half double crochets into that space, and then we let it go again. We go into the next space, chain, and then half double crochets, and then we go into the next space again. We grab our loop, and then another half double crochet, 1 more, and then we have to grab our loop again, and there it is. So we are back to that space where it has 2 double crochets. So we're gonna be doing that. Here's the first double crochet, and here is the second double crochet, and then we go back here again. We lock it, and then now we're gonna be doing that little corner, and in that corner we have 3 double crochets. So here is the first double crochet, the second, and number 3. So now we will go into that stitch that we used to connect those spaces. Grab your loop through there, chain 1, and now we will do our 3 double crochets again because we are turning a corner. 1, 2, 3. And now, since we still want to connect that side to this side, we're just gonna continue connecting them like that. All right, and then we just did the corresponding 3 to the 3 here. So we insert our hook through that next space. We grab our loop, chain 1, and now we have to do 2 double crochets here. So into the next space, but in the block across, we do 2 double crochets. And then we insert our hook again, we grab our loop, and now we'll do half double crochets in the next 3 spaces. And that's how we'll go for till the end of the line, connecting all sides together. And I'll meet you when I'm done. Alright, so here I made it all the way till the end. And I need to now connect those ends together. So I'll let that loop go. I'll go through that last space, grab my hook, secure that spot with a chain, and now I'll go back into my beginning here, into that top 2 chains that I made. And then I'll insert my hook through, pull my yarn and slip stitch through that loop on my hook. And I will go with slip stitches till the middle of my corner so I connect them together. All right, so I'll go under the stitch and do a slip stitch, go under the next stitch, do a slip stitch, and then go inside your middle here into that chain space. So there it is. I'll do a slip stitch. So I moved my yarn all the way up, and then I'll go through that space of the opposite granny square, and then I'll grab my yarn, and there it is. I got my loop through there. I'll chain one, and that's my end. All right, so here is my fanny pack. All right, so I was able to block the first two squares. That's why they look better than the other side where we added the new two squares and they were not blocked. So blocking does make quite a difference for granny squares. All right, so I will make my loop bigger and I'll just thread my yarn through there so I can really secure with a knot, and I'll be ready for the next step here. I wanted to show you my granny square stretcher here, that blocking thing I have. I printed on a 3D printer. You can find the file for free on Thingiverse, and I can put the link under in the description box for that, so you can print your own. And it works. It's not the most sturdiest thing, but in a pinch it's a good alternative. You can have different sizes for your granny squares, and I don't think I did a good job at positioning those little pins, but they work, and it has to be cleaned up a bit. But you know what? It just works. So I am happy with that. And since I cannot decide what kind of board to invest into, should I get a smaller one? Should I get a bigger one? So that's a nice testing unit to see what I like. So now we'll go all around the back with just half double crochets, and we'll have a little tiny border here. I'll start with the purple before adding more colors. I'll pick up the next stitch so I can make a loop, and then I'll chain one here because I'll be going in each stitch. So now yarn over, and into the next stitch we'll do a half double crochet, yarn over, and half double crochet here, yarn over, half double crochet. So I'll go all around. Actually, this creates holes that are too big, and I don't like that. So I'll grab my 3.5 crochet hook here, and let's try it again. Got my loop. I'll chain one. Now I'll do half double crochet. Yeah, that's much better. And this will gather the top of my bag much better, and when I attach my zipper and the lining, it will have a sturdier spot. So I'll go like that for at least 2 rows, and I'll meet you again when I'm done. Alright, so I'm still going around, but when I reach that side over here where it's slanted, where I have that half granny square, I put only 1 double crochet into that space because I wanted to make it a little bit flatter than being a triangle type of corner. So I will just put 1 double crochet here and just go into the next stitch on the side. So when I have my strap there, my shoulder strap, it has a nice tight stitches so it does not stretch too much. So actually I'll go and I'll tighten it even more. So here it is, I'm at that corner, and I'm tightening my previous stitch, and I'll tighten my corner stitch as well. Then I'll go into the next stitch and I'll make it again very tight. There, now I feel better. Okay, and I'll go into the next stitch again, and I'll just be extra tight here on those sides, and I'll do the same thing when I reach this side here. All right, let's go. So here I am at my last half double crochet, and I'll go with a slip stitch at the beginning chain that I made here. I'll go inside of it, slip stitch through it, and slip stitch through my last loop. And I thought it will look really nice if I put a contrast color here. And let's see which one will look good. Will yellow be better or orange? Yellow. I think yellow will look cute here. So yeah, let's put a yellow color. So I will thread my yarn through that last loop, so I don't have to worry about the colors coming off, and I'll just grab my new color. All right, so let's start with a slip knot, chain 1, and then yarn over for the half double crochet, and into the back loop of that purple we pull through, yarn over for a half double crochet, go through the back loop of the purple, and yarn over. Oh, this will look cute. All right, so here it is. I'll go like that one more time, and it will look great. And I'll meet you right here again. All right, so here I'm at the last stitch. I'll go through the back loop, do my last. Oh, let's split. Let's do it again. All right, so without splitting, going through the last loop, pull through, and then I'll go through that top stitch here. I'll try to make it invisible as much as I can, and I'll just pull through my loop here, and I'll cut my yellow color, and now I'll try to make it quite an invisible stitch. So I'll get the tail of my yarn, I'll go through the previous stitch, which is this one actually, and I'll pull my yarn through it, and then going from the bottom up through that middle of the stitch, I'll grab my tail again and pull it through so I can hide that connection here much better. And then I'll tighten, but just enough so it doesn't look that bad. And in the back, I'll use one of the loops to make a little loop here and a little knot so the edges don't unravel here, since they're in such a delicate situation. We're trying to hide so many connecting places. All right, and here it is. The shape is good, the sides here are almost getting flat. All right, so let's see how we'll finish it, because I think one more color, one more row of purple will give it a nice little finishing touch. All right, let's see if I can go through the back of the loop and just do slip stitches. Let's see how will that look. Let's try a few. Let's try a few more. I cannot decide. I haven't imagined the project in such a small detail. I had a general overview. I think that's good. So this will be our finishing touch. So we'll just go through the back loops again and then do a slip stitch. We'll slip through the middle, not too big, not too small. And then just like that, we'll go all around the whole back, and this will be our last row. So this will be the finishing touch of the fanny pack. And then we'll do the strap, and then we'll do a lining with the zipper, and then we can wear it when it's all done and ready. All right, I'll meet you at the end when I'm done with this row. All right, so here I am at the last one. I'll go again into that back loop, and over here I'll pull my yarn a tad longer, and then I'll cut it so I can go and form a nice little loop here. All right, so I'll grab my yarn, coming from the bottom though, here. So we'll go through my loop. We'll go through under the previous stitch here. I'll grab both of the legs of the V. All right, there it is. And then, because my tail is on this side, I'll go from this side there, and then from the bottom through the middle of the stitch, I'll grab my tail again and pull it towards the back. So it's the closest we can get to imitating that we don't have anything there. All right, so I'll weave it in here, try to put it down to the other side of the purple so I can make a little knot here, little stitch, so I make sure it does not go away, and I can keep all my stitches like here inside the bag. So where the lining will be, I want to hide them inside so they don't even peek through the lining. So I'm going to the side, not down, but more to the side of the stitches. There it is. Let's see, so I can cut all the ends. Here, those tails are too long, they'll peek through the lining. And then you're gonna have to cut them from outside because you will not gonna have access anymore once we close that top with the zipper and fabric lining.